How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading while the price is going up or down. Judge dismisses Sam Bankman-Fried's pre-trial jail release request. So they said he didn't really have much ground to stand on. On August 11th, his bail was revoked with witness tampering concerns. Before that, he had from December 2022 to August 2023, so 8 months, in order to do some research for his trial at his parents' house with unlimited internet access. So Judge Kaplan explained that in his view, there has been no persuasive showing that he did this and that he was trying to use his time effectively before, and he says that there hasn't been much new material produced by the government until recently, and he also said that that new material was from SBF's own Google accounts, implying he already had access to that material. Bitcoin and Ethereum hold ground despite raising inflation in August. CPI rose 3.7% instead of 3.6% like economists thought in the last 12 months. It went up 0.0% month over month instead of 0.2% like July and June. This is mainly attributed to the rising gasoline prices like I warned you about. FTX gets court approval to sell billions in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Collapsed digital exchange FTX has been given the green light today in order to sell $3.4 billion in Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and other assets by the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the District of Delaware. The company's plan will appoint Mike Novogratz, Galaxy Digital, as the investment manager overseeing the sale. According to the plan, FTX will cap its selling at 100 million worth of tokens per week, with a couple caveats like the limit can be increased to 200 million on an individual token basis, and a footnote says that Ethereum, stablecoins, Bitcoin, and the redemption of stablecoins, any sales of those will not count toward the 100 million weekly limit. Judge Dorsey will allow FTX to raise its weekly maximum if the company gets written authorization from the court. The US is the only country crypto startups should avoid, says Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. He says that the US is one of, if not the worst place to launch a cryptocurrency startup in the world right now. He says the only country he would not encourage you to start a company right now is the US. The Ripple boss wants the US to take a note from the likes of Singapore, the UK, and the UAE, as well as Switzerland, by enacting policies that will encourage crypto innovation while protecting consumers instead of regulation by enforcement. He says the lawsuit strategy isn't working, and he claimed that Ripple and Grayscale's court wins over the SEC may suggest that the court's mood is turning in the industry's favor. While the outcomes in the Ripple and Grayscale aren't legally binding, Garlinghouse did say the results provide more clarity to exchanges and custody providers operating in the US, at least for the time being. Onto the charts here, we are trying to make a bottoming pattern. Our stochastic is trying to push forward, the RSI is starting to come up. The VWAP wants to push bullish, but it's not quite getting through very strongly, so I'd keep an eye on it. Our money flow is pretty flat here, and the momentum wants to come up with a double green dot as that VWAP's trying to push bullish. Again, watch out if it starts to pull away, as we could see bearish action from here. Over on Bitcoin dominance, we have filled our gap. We are making that double bottom, so it would be important for us to get a green candle next. That could push us toward the top of this zone. Our stochastic is starting to round out, and the RSI looks like it could start to round out as well, so I would keep an eye on these. The VWAP is starting to push down, so it is starting to lose some strength on the daily. The momentum is starting to push away as a result, so I would keep an eye on this. If it continues and the money flow flips into the bearish territory, we could continue a bearish trend and reject away from here. Over on our Bitcoin futures, we do have that double bottom potential. Our stochastic is trying to push forward. That RSI is overall starting to flatten out though, so we are getting a little iffy. Our VWAP is starting to roll over, so the medium-term trend is starting to flip bearish. The money flows in a bearish trend, and the momentum is trying to push forward, but it could start to curl out if that VWAP doesn't rebound from here. So overall, it does look a little dicey, and tomorrow could be a big point. If we get push up tomorrow, we could continue to rise. However, if we see the market reject away, we're likely going to start to fall and break our supports. Over on Bitcoin for the daily, we are back within our pattern, so we are trying to test these waters again. We do have a higher volume node around this 26.4 zone that could act as a support resistance that we did reject away from today. Our stochastic is trying to push up. The RSI is starting to curl out though. The stochastic looks like it's starting to get a bit of a divergence, so I would watch out if we start to weaken here. The VWAP is trying to push with some strength, but the money flow is not quite following the same strength. The momentum does want to come up with a green dot as our VWAP is pushing bullish, but that's going to depend on if the lower time frames can stay bullish. If our lower time frames start to weaken, we're likely going to weaken here. Over on the 4 hour, we do have a potential for a double top here that could push us down and invalidate any kind of bullish momentum, and we could retest this kind of bottoming zone around that 25k as a result. As stochastic is making a slight bearish divergence, it hasn't highlighted yet. Our stochastic is getting close for a bearish cross. Our RSI is overall a little dicey. We are kind of pushing under a little bit, not quite too drastically yet, but I would keep an eye on it. The momentum is starting to roll away here. The VWAP's overall getting lower highs and getting toward that neutral. So if our VWAP breaks bearish, we could start a bearish trend and see lower price action. The money flow is in the bearish territory, but we are trying to push up. We're not getting much strength above this like 3 zone, like 3.5 zone. So if we don't push through here with some strength, we could see it reject and start a bearish trend. So I would watch out for that. Over on the 2 hour, our RSI is overall sliding. Our stochastic wants to run up, but we're kind of making a divergence, so I would watch out. Our momentum is trying to come up, but not quite too strong. It's starting to kind of taper, as that VWAP is in the bullish territory, but it's not quite getting a real good push off, and we are starting to come back down. If our next candle is red, we're likely going to start to pull away here. Our money flow is in the bearish territory. It's gotten another rejection, second rejection local, third if you count right here, for a cross to the bullish side. So those rejections could put this trend in jeopardy, and we could see a bit of a zigzag to the downside. The VWAP is a little iffy, so again, I would exercise caution. On the 1 hour, RSI is starting to come down. Our stochastic's starting to round out. The momentum's overall getting lower highs and coming down. Our money flow is trying to push up, but we aren't quite getting too much lift off above this 13. We're kind of pushing flat under it, so that is a little worrisome. That could act as a resistance and push us lower. Our VWAP is starting to curl under, so if the VWAP flips bearish here, we are going to possibly see a trend to the bottom, at which point if we break that support zone, we're going to possibly break even lower. Real quick, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and join us in that Discord. We're going to have some statues that we're almost about to show more people, and I'd love for some more people to be eligible to get them. You need to be in the Discord to be eligible though. We do have this volume profile. We did bounce off our value area low, so for those of you that aren't familiar with our volume profile, here's it revisited. We have a pretty good bounce here going, so we could trend to our point of control, which would be around that 11.6, like higher, almost 12-cent zone. So we do have that going for us if we continue bullish momentum from here though. Our VWAP is trying to push through that neutral. It's kind of wavering here just under the neutral though. So the next candle is going to be important. If it's red and we break this value area low, we're likely going to push lower. Our momentum is trying to push higher, but with the VWAP looking dicey, it hasn't gotten a green dot yet. Our stochastic is trying to push bullish and the RSI is trying to bounce up. But again, we're going to want to watch the lower time frames and see if they continue with bullish narratives. Otherwise, if they continue bearish territory, we likely could reject. Our stochastic's starting to roll over. Our RSI is going flat. The VWAP, this is on 4 hour, is hit an 18 and it's starting to pull back. So if we break below this 12 where we've had previous support resistance, we could get continued bearish action. However, if our VWAP bounces here, we could start another leg up to try to push toward our support resistance area. We do have a potential for a symmetrical or a ascending triangle, that could push us forward. With as big as this gapped area would be, that could push us toward our support resistance area. Our VWAP is starting to head out, the money flow is coming out, and the momentum does look like we could get some bearish strength, so I would watch out here. Over on the 2 hour, we have a green dot, but we are pushing with a red candle, so we could invalidate this if we're not careful. We could come down a little lower. I'd say if we break below this green candle here at that 8156, then we could see further downside, not financial advice. Our RSI is starting to roll away, the momentum's starting to come out. The VWAP's overall stair-stepping down. It is getting close to that neutral and wants to break into the bearish territory, so I would watch out for that. The stochastic is trying to push bullish, but with everything else looking dicey, I wouldn't bet too much on that. Our money flow is starting to push pretty heavily away from that neutral. If it continues like this and closes like this, we could start a bearish trend that could drag us lower. Over on the 1 hour, you see we could start a double top here as well. That could push us down toward this support resistance area we had back here. And then if we break that, we could continue with further lows. The momentum's overall starting to lose strength with red dots and pushing lower as our VWAP's in the bearish territory and our money flow is struggling to push above this 3.5 zone. So if our money flow doesn't push forward here and the VWAP doesn't rebound, we're likely going to see another leg down. The stochastic and RSI are starting to push pretty harsh down, if you can see that. And we have that red dot on our momentum. So overall, everything's pointing more bearishly. Over on Anchor for the daily, we are overall in a downtrend still, but we are trying to make that rounding bottom here as well. Our RSI is trying to push forward, that stochastic's trying to make a bullish cross. The VWAP is trying to push through that neutral, so if we can gain some bullish strength, we'll see continual upside. However, if our VWAP rolls away here, we're likely going to reject. That money flow is in a bearish trend overall. It is struggling to push forward and kind of flattening out, so I would exercise caution. The momentum is coming up with the green dot, but if the VWAP starts to waver here, we're likely going to invalidate that. Over on the 4 hour, we have a reversal here that could end up dropping us down as this candle's bullish but not very strong. Our stochastic has a bearish divergence as well that wants to drop us down, so this could act as a topping pattern. Our momentum's starting to round away, and the VWAP's overall losing strength and heading down, even though price is trying to continue up. Our money flow is in the bearish territory. We did reject away from this kind of 2-2 zone, so if we don't make a new high and push through that, we could start a bearish trend with a new low and continue down from here. Over on the 2 hour, our stochastic's pretty tight. We do want to push forward, so we could get that break up. We might get a scan break up to about this 1868. Like I said a couple days ago, we still haven't filled. So if we get a scan wake up, fill that zone and reject from there, I would exercise caution. Our RSI is starting to come down. Our momentum's starting to come down. The VWAP's slightly bullish, but it's kind of wavering, and it doesn't have too much strength behind it. So if the next candle's red, I would exercise some caution. We kind of have a gapped area down below us at 1722 as well, so we could fill that. Our money flow is overall starting a bearish trend and pushing lower, so watch out if it continues this and pushes even lower. Over on the 1 hour, our stochastic has a bearish cross and wants to push down, bringing our RSI down, so watch out for that. The momentum has a red dot, overall pushing us lower from the VWAP breaking into bearish territory. If the VWAP continues bearish and the money flow continues to round away, we're likely going to get continual downside from here. Over on XRP for the daily, we are trying to get a bit of a rounding pattern here too and push forward. Our stochastic's trying to get a bullish cross, the RSI is trying to push up, the VWAP's trying to push against that neutral, and the money flow is slightly in a bearish trend still, so I would exercise some caution there. The momentum wants to come up, but it's not getting a green dot, as that VWAP's struggling, so I would watch the next candle closely. Over on the 4 hour here, we're trying to get a symmetrical triangle as well that could push us forward, so watch if that continues to press us forward. If it does, it could retest this higher zone or possibly pull us toward that flag. Our stochastic's starting to round out here, and the RSI is trying to push up, but if the stochastic loses strength, the RSI is likely to follow. The VWAP's getting slightly lower highs here, so we could form a bearish trend and it could start to round out as it's starting to flatten. So I would exercise some caution and watch the lower time frames. The money flow is in a bullish trend, but it's not quite getting through that neutral, so if it doesn't push through this time, like it got rejected 2 or 3 times, if it doesn't push through here, we're likely going to start a bearish trend and push lower. So I would exercise some caution. Over on the 2 hours, stochastic's trying to get a bullish push up, but our RSI is starting to come out, so I would exercise some caution on that. If the stochastic doesn't get a new high with price getting new highs, we could form a bearish divergence that could drop us down. The momentum's trying to push forward, the VWAP's getting lower highs, so that it's in a bit of a bearish trend, so I would keep an eye on that. That could drop us lower if that continues. The money flow is in a bit of a bearish trend. If it gets a lower low, then we would confirm a bearish trend that can bring us lower. Over on the 1 hour, we're trying to get that that ascending triangle there. There's the word I'm looking for. Our stochastic's starting to round off, the RSI is starting to round off, and the momentum's starting to come out. The VWAP is starting to curl out and testing that neutral, so watch out. If it continues to push down, we're likely going to see this round away here. The money flow is starting to do the same, so if the VWAP and money flow flip into the bearish territory or continue this bearish trajectory, we're likely going to break down. Over on algo for the daily, very similar to everything else. Our RSI is trying to push up. We have that potential for a bottoming pattern. Our stochastic wants to make a bullish cross. The money flow is trying to push forward, but it's still kind of in a bearish trend. Our VWAP's trying to push forward, but kind of stopping short of that neutral, and the momentum does want to push forward. Over on the 4 hour here, we are kind of rejecting away from the bottom of our previous pattern, so we could start a rejection from that as we did retest it and we didn't break through. Our stochastic's starting to head down. Our RSI is pretty flat overall. The VWAP is coming back down, so it could break through that neutral if we don't get a strong bounce here. The momentum could start to curl away as a result of that, and the money flow is maintaining bearish strength, so I would exercise caution. We are looking a little iffy. Over on the 2 hour, we have a bearish divergence that wants to drop us down. Our stochastic wants to make a bullish cross though and wants to push forward. So if the next candle can become green, we could see a push forward. However, if we continue with red candles and start to push lower, we will see continual downside. The money flow is rejecting away from that neutral, and the VWAP is in the bullish territory given the momentum and green dot, but it's not very strong, so we are in jeopardy of seeing that reject away if the 1 hour sees bearish patterns. This 1 hour, the stochastic has a bearish cross and it's starting to push under, so that could drop us down. We are getting a red dot on our momentum that could drop us under as our VWAP's pushing bearish and our RSI is starting to come out. That money flow is struggling to get past this kind of 10 zone, so if the money flow doesn't get some bullish momentum here, we're likely going to see it drop us down like it has a couple of times in previous history, recent history at that. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.